Oh my God, I got to burp. I always have to burp when I do webcam interviews. Every single time I do a webcam interview, I have to burp. I swear to God.
The
And it's not
stress.
even, that wasn't even a good burp either. Like, I wish it could have been something I could be proud of.
Piss
Welcome
poor.
to 13 Minutes, the Breakfast of Champions. I'm Paul Goon, and this week I'm on Zoom hanging out with Portrait of Betrayal. What's up, guys?
What's up? How's everyone?
Very excited to be here. There's confetti falling on Cody's screen or something.
Confetti!
The party. The breakfast of champions.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a whiskey and Coke. Just a traditional little pick me up this evening. 1 o'clock on our time.
Yeah, 1 o'clock on my time too. That's good as time as any to drink some good pick me up in the evening.
Absolutely. We're having a Friendsgiving, so I'm just getting prepared for this evening before everyone shows up.
Oh, nice. The Friendsgiving pregame. Where are you guys from?
I'm from Whitesburg, Kentucky, on the southeast border near Virginia.
I am from Louisville, Kentucky originally. That's where I was born and raised. And then since turning 18, I've slowly moved further and further east into eastern and southeastern Kentucky. I currently live in Prestonsburg, but I often find myself in Whitesburg with the band.
Sounds like a good place to be. How long have you guys been a band?
So, we had formed in late 2019, but due to the pandemic and everything, all our progress was like halted at one point. So really we formed in 2019, but we really didn't get the ball rolling until about mid 2020. Right around the time where we were doing our first demo and our first show, trying to get an established foundation and everything. So the band will say 2019, but on record, we didn't really start doing anything until about 2020. So I guess you could say we were an imaginary band for about a year before we actually started, kicking everything.
What is Appalachian Death?
Just, essentially deathcore, death metal, really taking those elements and just I guess making our staking our claim, right here in Appalachia. I guess one of the furthest parts of Appalachia. We just took there's actually a few bands who have had like album titles, called Appalachian Death. They've got merch with the term Appalachian Death. We just essentially took the term from bands who were doing like Pittsburgh Death and Midwestern Death, stuff like that. We were just like, we're a death metal band from Appalachia, Appalachian Death, keep it short and sweet, something like that.
How is deathcore different from death metal?
I'm not an expert on any of it really. I'm barely getting by with like terms and with subgenres and with everything like that. But I would like to think that, death metal is just the overall, the ball drop of metal. It's like you have this, you have the spectrum, and then you have metal, and then you've got stuff like rock, you have like indie rock, alternative. And then I think when you take more heavier elements, more low tunes, slow speed, I think you have this essence of death metal. You have this you have this essence of deathcore. I think a lot of people would argue and say, death metal is more fast. It's in your face. It's just brutal, just as hard and as fast as you can go. Leave it all on the line. Leave it there on the stage. Deathcore, I think, implements a lot of other elements. You've got hardcore bands, you have metalcore bands, you have death metal, heavy metal bands. I think deathcore incorporates a lot of those elements to make it into one, to just unify as one just heavy subgenre. There's really, I guess you could say there's not much of a difference if you're looking at it from face value, but once you start diving into the aspects of what goes into deathcore and death metal and so on and so forth, you'll start to pick apart a lot of these little these styles that just make it that much that next level, if that makes sense. Death metal, I think, can only go so far, whereas deathcore kind of pushes the bar, it pushes the envelope, it really raises the stakes on a lot of stuff.
Well, I feel like I just learned a lot. When you say the ball drop and then you put your hands like this, are you saying like it's when your balls drop, that's when you become a man, and then you get into deathcore?
It's you're born into let's say Gorgoroth, and you're born into what are some other Death, of course, one of the best death metal bands. You have
Shout
Deicide.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. You have Deicide, all these other like awesome, amazing bands. I would even say Slayer, to an extent, could be a death metal band with, their intensity. But trying to think, I've lost all trying to focus. I started thinking about Slayer and it just absolutely takes my mind away. But yeah, you have this ball drop. It's when you go into the wilderness and you kill your first lion. You go from death metal to deathcore, and I think it adds a new perspective onto this heavy metal, the genre. I think that the subgenre deathcore just adds just more flair, more neck. It adds more neck to the death metal.
All right, deathcore is going out into the wilderness and killing your first lion. You heard it here first, folks. Is it easy to write a song?
For me, absolutely. I listen to the boys. They are the real talent. They come up with all the instrumentals. They come up with all the fluidity, the intricacy. They come up with all of that. They lay out the design of whether our song is going to be more doomy, more hardcore, more death metal. And I really try to bring that essence of deathcore. I try to bring the the monstrous vocals. I just try to do myself justice, because I personally think that I'm the least talented of the group, but I think with all of us collectively, we really create something special, with each member putting their own flair into writing. We give everybody full freedom to do what they want, and jamming something that we're comfortable with, and then once the instrumentals are done, I'll spend 4 or 5 days looking over lyric material together, really trying to get flow. And then for me, it's just about a week of listening to the same thing over and over. I can only imagine for the other guys, it's me just making noises and them just going with it and seeing what they can do. But yeah, as far as my side goes, writing a song is not entirely too hard, but there's a lot more that goes into it than just me screaming over just music. I'm sure Jarvie could answer that a little bit better. He's actually musically inclined, and he's actually got some past references with a couple of the other members, playing music together and going to shows, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I want to, even though they aren't here, I want to praise Kurt and Ethan, our lead guitarist and drummer, respectively, because they at least we had a little baby mini writing session a couple weeks ago during one of our practices, and Kurt just he's just a riff machine. He just comes up with riffs out of nowhere, and they're good. We are standing around literally being we should try to write a new song, and everyone, we're all just kind of standing there thinking how do we do that? And then Kurt just starts playing stuff, and it just just, the first half of a song just blossomed before my eyes, where Kurt would like write a riff, and then Ethan would start like figure out like what kind of beat was going to fit well with it. And then they'd get that and bounce that back a couple times. And then Kurt would like get a new riff. And, it was like chunks of the song were just being laid out. And it was just like really cool. So I will say Kurt and Ethan at least make it look easy. I don't know if they would say it's easy, but they make it look easy. I know for me, I have a really different like writing process than a lot of musicians that I know, because a lot of the musicians I know, and I'm very, very fortunate to work with so many extremely talented musicians from so many genres, but a lot of them write things very in the moment. It seems very improvisational. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's like pure inspiration just coming out and just flowing. Whereas me, I write almost exclusively like by myself, in like a program where I can like play something and like piece things together and layer things. And for me, writing a lot of the time almost feels like kind of mathematical a little bit. Sometimes I'll kind of calculate like what kind of emotion do I want to communicate here. And it gets very like logical. It gets very mathematical. And honestly, a lot of the time it's pretty hard. Every once in a while, I'll have something come to me like pretty fast, and get lucky with something that sounds pretty good and it came pretty easily. But a lot of the time, it's pretty painstaking for me when I try to write things. There's just a lot of trial and error and a lot of refining. Yeah.
How do you know when a song is good? How do you know when a song is ready to put it out into the world?
I would say when we're cool with it. There's a lot of butting heads, and there's a lot of back and forth when creating just like the singular tracks. But when we're looking at a group of songs, we try to play them as much as possible during practice. We try to, before even going into pre-production, we try to just play them as much as possible in order to fill out the vibe. And we generally have a direction of like what we're going for before writing those songs. It's just, I think in today's standard, almost everything's been done. So really the best way to get something out of the beaten horse is to just keep kicking it. We try to just do as much as we can per song, and we know immediately what we don't want. We see the line that we're like what we don't want to cross, and we try to keep it within the realm of our abilities to where, is this going to sound good live? Is this going to be difficult or hard to record? Is this going to be enough for our standards? We try to, as I stated earlier, we try to push the bar. We try to push the envelope. We try to, at least in terms of a band and for our style, our repertoire, we try to just increase that, double down on the intensity. We try to just progress. And so, when we're jamming and we've jammed the same song for about 2 weeks and we've fine-tuned it, we've added it, we've implemented elements that we haven't before in other songs. I think when the collective all five are making the same face, like, this is fucking heavy, this is awesome, like I want to play this live over and over. I think that's when we really say, like, okay, I think we have something here. And then usually after about 2 weeks of us, or I say 2 weeks, we don't really have, 2 weeks worth of shows, at a given time. But after about 14 shows, where we really come down to, do we really want to play this live anymore? Do we really want to keep doing this? But generally we try to give each song its justice, and we try to at least play it enough to where people either love it, they hate it, or they don't care if we play it live ever again. But we at least the songs we come up with, we're all fully comfortable with, and we're stoked to unveil that to the world and see where it goes. As an independent band, it's easier to do that, I guess, because you can do whatever.
I like how you said, all right, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna add like my answer to the question of like how do you know when a song is done? I think for me, the most important question to ask before you, I guess, as you're workshopping a song and before you're going into like a studio to record it and get ready to release it to the world, I think the most important question that we need to ask ourselves as a band or any artist needs to ask themselves is this piece of art communicating what we want it to communicate as clearly and as completely as possible, because there's always a lot like things are always going to get lost in translation between our brains as artists and the people who consume our art. But have we gotten that lost in translation down to like the slimmest margin that we as human artists can? Like that's what I try to ask when I'm involved in the process of deciding like, is this done?
I agree.
What does a portrait of betrayal look like? Is this like a high class piece of art physically?
When we first sat down, it was actually me and our previous rhythm guitarist and bass player Jonathan Polly. We wanted to do something that could revolve around anything. When we were picking a band name, we wanted to do something that if we decided to switch genres, if we decided to change tones, if we decided to even go from deathcore to alternative rock, we wanted to pick something that generally you could talk about and write about in any instance or any genre. And so after going through various names, we figured a portrait of betrayal, or in our case, portrait of betrayal or the portrait of betrayal. We wanted to essentially make a story out of our songs. We wanted to dive into the realm of betrayal can take any form, whether it be brother on brother, friend to friend, even friend to foe, nature, everything, your mental, everything in this world can betray you in one way or another. And we wanted to capture that essence in all things, whether it be worldly, otherworldly, possessional, a person-to-person connection, anything. And so, whether we're death metal today, deathcore tomorrow, hardcore the next, and rap the week after, at least we can portray, that betrayal in this world. And so a portrait of betrayal, essentially as it is right now, is just brutal, in your face, gut punch. This is take it for face value. This is what the world will do to you, and never forget that. And so a portrait of betrayal is just in all things, it's real. It's from me to you. It's in front of you, it's around you, it's in your dreams, it's everywhere. Your back is constantly being stabbed at all angles. And I think as humans, we try to do everything we can to prevent that, or otherwise, be aware of that. And we try to dive into that aspect, the real essence, the real world, the real issues. We could be a great hardcore band. We have the material, but we thought for a death metal band, we should try to do something that's more than just your generic death metal, deathcore, the same, message, the same image. We wanted to do something bigger than ourselves, but try to keep it, heavy as fuck.
And I'll add, I think Cody summed that up great. I also do imagine, like, physically, yes, like a piece of grand art. And I haven't figured out, I think about this actually like kind of a lot, and I haven't figured out what's in the painting yet, but I do imagine like some kind of grandiose classic painting that just like captures the portrait of betrayal, like in some universal way, like Cody was talking about, because you can be betrayed by anything, even like things that people don't typically think of as animate, like, like nature and things.
Which is a good point. That's the perspective that the very few founding members had in mind. And so, like Jarvie and everyone else, we wanted to pretty much instill that imaginary essence of what is the portrait, what is the painting. It's for everyone else, much like art. It's up to the interpreter. We wanted people to interpret their own ideas of betrayal. You know, what is the first thing that comes to mind? What is the understanding? I think Jarvie got the idea when he joined this outfit, and I think that does it justice enough for people who have no idea who we are.
What crawls beneath?
Well, clearly not my phone stand. So what crawls beneath? This has been a question I've asked myself since my birth. Whatever is in the heart. Whatever is in the heart, brother. It's all love. Am I allowed to say that in a death metal band?
No, you could say that. I just wanted to know, Jarvie, is this a question that's been in your heart since birth as well?
I mean, a little bit. I'm just imagining little baby Cody still with his tattoos. You know,
very tiny.
You know, what crawls beneath. No, I mean, I think you know, let's see. I'm very into you know, therapy and emotional awareness and all sorts of stuff. And I think what crawls beneath is an important question when one kind of like takes inventory of yourself, because we all have things going on in our life that are like kind of on the surface, like the immediate concerns that we're always aware of. But it's also important to ask yourself, you know, what crawls beneath these surface concerns. Like, what are the big things happening within me that I maybe am not thinking of every day? You know, and that's a hard question to ask, because I think there's always something crawling beneath. You know, there's always like motives is one thing that comes to mind. Like, why am I really doing the things I do? What emotional pitfalls might I be about to walk into that I'm not really super aware of? Things like that come to mind for me when I ask the question, you know, what crawls beneath? And that can also be an exterior question. There are all sorts of exterior pitfalls in our life, and things crawling beneath, ready to surface. In a more literal sense, if we want that kind of answer too, the two worst things that have ever crawled beneath for me were both in my old house. One of them was termites, and everything, my roommate was cooking in the kitchen and everything was completely fine and completely normal. And then from 1 second to the next, termites had just burst out of the walls and were filling our house. And then also right when we got the house, our toilet exploded because some roots had grown into the main outward pipe of our house, and the washing machine drained and hit the roots and it couldn't get through. So every outbound water and waste product from our house came back up in an instant through our toilet. And that was what crawled beneath that day. So I have now answered the question in every possible way. Thank you.
With that being said, I want to retract my unserious notion and replace it with a serious notion. Jarvie's definitely the brains of the bunch as of recent. He's very more methodical and very more literal in his sense. So no, not a question I asked since birth, but I think that is a question that everyone must ask themselves when faced with the real scenarios of life. You see people's truest forms when they are pitted against reality, and with real situations they can't just cheat, lie, or steal their way out of. I believe that what crawls beneath is the true essence of each individual human. And with all that being said, you come across a time in your life when you have to face certain obstacles. You have to face certain demons and certain nightmares in order to progress and in order to grow. And I generally think that what Cross Beneath is the true nature of oneself and the actions that they will deliver in times of need, whether that be peaceful or chaotic. And as far as on a literal sense what crawls beneath, I had bed bugs when I lived in Lexington. And I will leave it at that. If anyone has bed bugs, do what I did and drag your furniture out to the dumpster in the parking lot and light it on fire despite the consequences, because you can either go to jail with no bed bugs or you can go back into your apartment with no furniture with also no bed bugs. So I would rather be in jail than have bed bugs. Thank you.
How many pictures of Cody's middle finger are out in the world?
So if everyone will just take a screenshot, we can get one more right here.
All right, hold it
that,
there. Wait, hold it there. Hold on. Got it.
Hell yes. I would say more than there are pictures of me on my birthday. So which is a lot because I party for about a week before my birthday and then a week after. So there's a lot of middle fingers on the internet at this point. Thanks to yours truly.
Who are your guys' favorite bands from Kentucky?
So I guess this is an easy one as of mainstream. This is just my personal Knocked Loose. We've got a Knocked Loose cover. They're one of the KY boys that just shot for the stars and absolutely conquered the universe. And as far as local goes, I got to give props to my homie Adam Cottle in Raptured. I have to give props to my boy Shane in Succumb to Demise. Those boys helped us out a lot. Got to give a shout out to the boys in the Pine. They've absolutely taken us throughout Kentucky.
Shout out!
We've done the split.
I've been trying to keep the shout outs low for the webcam interview because I know when I do that, it's just going to fuck up everything you're saying and completely cut you off. But for the Pine, fuck the interview.
Hell yes.
I had to do the shout out.
Absolutely. There's a third one. I will go on record and just say Lips is one of the greatest Kentucky bands.
Shout out!
Bradford, Trey, big shout outs. Bradford and Trey, they're some of the greatest people on this planet, man. For real. They deserve everything that they get. And I truly believe that Lips is one of those bands that if they're not on the next EA skate game, I don't fucking want it. But yeah, shout out to Lips, shout out to Succumb to Demise, Raptured, fuck it, Age of Panic, Buried Truth, all the KY homies. If we've played with you and if we haven't, straight up, man, this scene wouldn't be anything without those dudes. And just trying to push this fucking limit in KY wouldn't be possible without bands like those dudes and those type of dudes in the scene for sure.
Mad fucking shout outs, man. Shout out
Left
to Lips.
Right. Left
Shout out to Age of Panic. I did feature Lips on the website earlier this year. That EP they dropped was fucking raw. Big shout out. Jarvie, your turn. Who are your favorite Kentucky bands?
All right. So a lot of these aren't going to be heavy bands.
Doesn't matter.
Especially because Cody covered my absolute favorite Kentucky heavy band, which is Knocked Loose, of course. Everybody listen to Value. He's a pop R&B artist out of Kentucky. His song Oscar Wilde is amazing and should be on the radio. Everybody listen to Wombo. They are a Louisville-based band. It's just weird music, but it's good weird timing stuff, weird harmonic stuff, operatic things. You've probably never heard anything that sounds quite like Wombo. Go check them out. Vina Cava is a heavy band. They're a instrumental prog metal band out of Lexington. Boy Her, very, very small artist, has one album out. It's a killer album. I can't think of any more right now, but I might interrupt and shout out other people. But there are so many awesome artists that I've gotten to know in my time as a musician in Kentucky. And those are just a few off the top of my head.
All the fucking shout outs. Is Spotify killing the music industry?
Yes. I don't know what that means, but yes. And I do know what you mean. But yeah, nobody can shy away from it. When you have people on the mainstream like Taylor Swift and Adele and Sam Smith and just a lot of these mainstream artists calling out this brand, this conglomerate. I think for a company to be getting so much backlash that doesn't even do merch cuts, that's a big slap in the face, especially for artists who generally are doing everything they can to stay ahead of the curve. They're doing everything they can to stay afloat, stay relevant. I think for a company like Spotify to, I guess, implement the cuts that they are doing, even for mainstream artists, it's on both ends. The rich and the poor are absolutely being decimated by the monopoly that is Spotify. But other than that, yeah, it's killing the industry. If mainstream artists are taking such a heavy lick from everything, then I'm sure you can only imagine what these smaller artists who are just doing everything they can for their 300, 400 monthly listeners, they're doing that because of the passion. They're not doing that because it's even supporting them, because it's not through Spotify. Artists are essentially working for free, and I guess that goes to show the determination, it's showing the drive, it's showing the want. This has remained a passion for so many people because they are doing this, despite the odds, despite the income, despite everything. They are still doing this because they love it. And I think even though Spotify is killing the industry, it is also, in a way, fueling it for people who know what they're signing up for nowadays.
It looks like the time on the meeting is about to run out. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but just throwing that out there.
I see it. I was going to tell you before you give your answer to this question that we only have 3 minutes left. Okay. It's just what Zoom does to us.
Sure. I'll keep it very, very short and say yes, but I do think that a Spotify or a similar platform was inevitable, and I think we have to roll with it. We have to figure out a way to make Spotify stop killing the music industry, but I don't think Spotify or platforms like Spotify are going anywhere. I think it's where we're at now. The most immediate thing in my mind is just raise the monthly cost and consider that everybody's church offering to musicians everywhere, and make our peace with it and pay out that to pay more of that money out to artists, but also corporations could stop being so greedy. It's a complex problem.
Are mosh pits supposed to be pushing, punching, or both?
Both. All of it. I want blood. We all want blood. Go home bloody. Wake up tomorrow happy. End of story.
I'm going to choose no comment because I'll probably lose what little street cred I have as a heavy musician if I say, I guess I will comment. If I say that maybe sometimes there should be a baby pit option for people who want to mosh but don't want to lose a tooth. Or maybe I should make my peace with losing a tooth. Maybe that's the answer.
Make the peace, Jarvie.
Unfortunately, in this world, you just have to make the peace in 30 seconds or less. Do you guys have any shows coming up?
We have one in late December at Legends. Can't give any details on that. Still waiting on the flyer, still waiting on the lineup. And we are currently working on a run in February on the East Coast. We're working on a run in March with a few bands from Tennessee, still trying to get something solidified. And we are currently in pre-production mode for 2 singles and a full length. But as far as that goes, no further detail can be given because we are an independent band and we are working our asses off. So expect a lot from us next year. Don't expect everything that I've just talked about because that is nothing I can promise. But Portrait of Betrayal is working our asses off, and we hope to see everybody real soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm Paul Goon. They are Portrait of Betrayal. That was 13 fucking minutes.
You, Paul, thank you, brother. This was awesome.
Big love.
You.